Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Welcome to another episode of Brainscratch Searchlight, and thank you so much for joining me here today. This case really takes me back to some of the original intent for Searchlight. I know I've covered kind of more popular cases and less popular cases. I kind of go all over the board with it, but this is one of those cases where there's not a ton of great information out there about where Colleen Smith is. And we're going to review kind of the media information, which has largely just been copies of press release information from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. But we also have someone that is close to the case that has shared a lot of details with me, additional details that quite honestly haven't been made public in any forum that I can see. So I'm also going to be sending this video to reporters that have covered this case previously. If you are one of those reporters, I'm asking that you please watch this video all the way through to the end for the additional information about this case. And if you can find it in your heart, please take the time to dig into these elements. I believe that with more press built up around this case, the person that has the information will come forward and help an 86-year-old mother learn what happened to her daughter. And thank you, if you are one of those members, one of those journalists, thank you for even starting this video and getting this far. I really appreciate you guys, and I think that you can really help with this case. We just need one of you that's willing to dig in a little bit stronger. So let's go ahead and cut over to the screen share, and we are starting here with a photo of Colleen Smith. Quite honestly, I haven't even seen a decent missing poster for her, which is a shame in itself. There's no critical details on this one. I mean, it literally just says the word missing and it has a picture of her face. Now, this is actually from a website where they did include some of those details, but typically on these cases, I'll see at least 1, 2, sometimes 5 or 6 different versions of missing posters that include pertinent information meant to jog the memories of people that might have been in the area and maybe remember something about this case. Unfortunately, with this one, we just don't have that. So this case takes place in Rock Creek, British Columbia. Let's learn a little bit more about this area. Rock Creek is an unincorporated settlement in the boundary country of the southern interior of British Columbia, Canada. Now, unincorporated settlement sounds pretty rural to me, and I had a heck of a time trying to find just a population number for this area. Of course, it's not even here in Wikipedia. I did find another website called citydata.com. I don't even know if this is accurate, but they're saying that the population in 2006 was about 347 people, and it is down to 86 as of 2011. Of course, you know, at least here in the States, we had a pretty big financial crisis during that. So it might be that these numbers are indeed accurate. But what strikes me about this is you've got an extremely small community here. Who knows what type of resources they have in terms of law enforcement, how much time they can really dedicate to a case in this area. Who knows what types of resources they have in terms of media that would be willing to cover something in this area and really dig in a little bit deeper. It's kind of in this area where I'm wondering how much help can Colleen Smith's case really have? And outside of that, if there is some element of foul play involved here, you've got a pretty small community. I'd be very surprised if all these people don't know each other. And all it takes is for that person that is involved to speak to one other person, and potentially we have that tip that can solve this case. Let's go ahead and move forward to My Nelson Now. This is one of the earliest articles to come out on this case from Monday, February 22nd, 2016. Unfortunately, she has been missing for over 2 years at this point. Colleen Sylvia Smith was last seen February 9th. She's described as 5'5", 145 pounds with blonde hair. She also has blue eyes, and I believe at the time she went missing, she was 50 years old. Colleen was reported missing after not showing up for work and has not been in contact with her friends or family since February 9th. Police are very concerned for her health and well-being, and friends and family report that it is out of character for her to be out of contact for this long. She owns a blue 2005 four-door Chevrolet Cobalt. The BC license plate is 914 WF be. Now, an additional detail here is, yes, she was last seen on February 9th, but she actually wasn't scheduled to work until February 11th. She was scheduled to work at the Petro-Canada station on the Crow's Nest Highway in Rock Creek on February 11th of 2016. So we have a 2-day gap there. I don't know if she actually went missing on February 9th. I don't know if she went missing on February 10th or at some point early on February 11th. And then we also have a little bit of a strange condition in the person that actually called her in as missing, I believe, is her boss from this gas station, which is a little bit strange, but we're going to learn in some of these details that have been given to me by someone that is very close to the case that it's a little easier to understand once we get into those details. But moving forward to globalnews.ca, which also has a video segment on this case, but largely it's just, once again, repeating kind of the press release information. There's a couple of additional details there, which we're going to cover on this video as well. She has several pets she adored and took good care of. Family and friends say it's not like her to leave them. They describe her as a kind person with a big heart who loved animals. Smith also had a photography and seamstress business. She was working on a wedding dress when she disappeared. And this information is easily supported if you just check out her Facebook. You can see that her main profile pic are two little cute critters cuddling with each other. In terms of work, we see that she is the owner-operator of a business called Miss Sophie's Old Time Photos, the photography business. We can see she's also employed by Rock Creek Petrocan. And if we look at the photos over here, once again, looks like an animal lover to me. And on top of that, it looks like she might also be involved in some type of local theater production, which we're going to get a little more detail on as well. I don't have it confirmed, but I believe this might be her dog. She apparently has one dog as well. Once again, just to kind of support what type of person we're talking about here, this is an article, and I know I'm going to get this name wrong, from Osoyo Times. Hope that's at least close. Cat stolen twice and dumped into coyote-inhabited wilderness. And this is from February 19th of 2014. And it's basically talking about this cat here, Kobo, and Kobo was dumped into this area, and some people were kind enough and found him and brought him home. And then within a matter of days, 4 days later, Colleen Smith from Rock Creek announced on Facebook that she and her husband had just rescued Kobo from a tree in the Kettle River Conservation Area, several kilometers north of Rock Creek, a distance of about 55 kilometers from Kobo's actual home. Quote, apparently someone has it in for this cat, wrote Smith on the Osoyos Times Facebook page. People need to be aware that there's a cat hater in Osoyos. Leaving a cat in a provincial park full of coyotes is sick. Twice in 1 week is not an accident. So you can see it's very clear that she does indeed love animals. And outside of that, we get a little hint of some interesting information in that this states that she has a husband, which we might have a little clarification on at the end of this video. We get an update. Colleen Smith's vehicle located in Kelowna, and this is from May 6th of 2016. So we're talking nearly 3 months after she went missing. On Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016, the Kelowna RCMP located Smith's blue 2005 four-door Chevrolet Cobalt in a Kelowna retail business parking lot. An examination of the vehicle failed to uncover any evidence about her current whereabouts. The vehicle did appear to have been parked at the location for a period of time and was found locked and to be in good running order with no damage. Now, you know, frequently in missing persons cases, when we have a vehicle that goes missing with the person, that's one of those important details is the vehicle in good running order? Basically, are they able to start it? Is there gas in the tank? Because that rules out one scenario where potentially there was some type of breakdown. Maybe she was asking for help for someone and might have been taken away or something like that. But we hear here that her vehicle is clearly working. Now, the Crimestoppers video that was on the previous news clip that I had mentioned did say that the retail business parking lot in Kelowna is actually a Walmart. And if we jump to a map here, just to give you guys some idea of the distance, this is the Petro-Canada station that she worked at down in Rock Creek. And the Kelowna Walmart Supercenter is way up here, over 130 kilometers. Takes about an hour, a little bit more than an hour and a half to actually drive there. Is this something normal for her vehicle to be there? Once again, when we get into the additional information, we'll have a little input on that. Over at bctvkootenays.com, more than 7 months later and no further information regarding missing Rock Creek woman. That was published on September 18th, 2016. The rest of this article largely is just repeating the same press release information that we've already gone over here. And the media on this unfortunately kind of dies off here. And what's unfortunate about this case is we're not seeing some of the typical things that we see in missing persons cases, some type of time frame leading up to her disappearance, some personal details. We do know at least about the vehicle, and that's part of the reason why I also was sure to read the plate to you, and I will just once again, 914WFB. I just want to keep that information out there because if you remember this vehicle, it might really help the RCMP to have that information. If you in particular remember seeing this vehicle at the Walmart parking lot or potentially getting to the Walmart parking lot, that might help the time frame and give them some different directions to look in. On top of that, there is a Web Sleuths thread on it. Unfortunately, it is barely over one page. Of course, a lot of people concerned for Colleen. And this is where we are going to get into the additional information. I do have to put it out there just with this one note. I don't know this person personally. I can tell you the information that they have given me about this case completely fits and lines up with the information that I was able to get from my review of this case. I feel that this person is on the up and up, but I just want to put it out there with a little note of, I don't have a confirmed identity on this person, but it does appear to me that they are close to this case and they have additional details that I do think are important for us to go through. If you are one of those reporters and would like to be put into contact with this person, you can email me at john@lordenarts.com, just like it's spelled down in the channel name down below, and that's JOHN@lordenarts.com. I will certainly pass your contact information to this person and have them contact you and give you the additional details that you might seek. Hopefully that will get you to dig into this case a little more and maybe help publicize this. One other note before I get into these notes, for family members, first of all, Colleen, I'm sure Colleen's mother is watching this video, and I just want to let you know that my heart breaks for you in this situation that you're in. I am hoping that this video is helpful in terms of getting this information seen by a bunch of new people that might have not seen it before, adding these additional details to the story, which I think might be important to this case, and to potentially jogging someone's memory out there and maybe getting that ever so critical tip called into the RCMP that might help us understand what happened in this case. But on top of all that, if you are a family member of Colleen's, there's a link in the description box below that says if you have a missing loved one, please go to that link. There are additional steps that you guys can take to hopefully try to rally support and additional media attention in this case. For example, having some type of memorial service, trying to recognize the date where she went missing and the place that she went missing from. Some other things along those lines that typically media companies do cover and might get some more exposure to this case. So please be sure to check that link out. With all that being said, let's get into the additional details. So I had asked this person about a dozen questions. The first of them was, who saw her last? And this person is not positive who actually saw her last, but did note that it was actually her boss at the gas station that reported her missing. I'm not sure if it was reported February 11th or February 12th. I'm kind of seeing a little bit of information dancing around on that, but it was her boss at the gas station. Kind of curious that it wasn't this husband that we have heard about, but we're going to get into much more about that. She had been in a common law relationship with someone that this person believes was abusive, and this relationship had gone on for about 10 years. Things may have gotten very bad. They actually shared the same house, but they had separate rooms in the house. They did this because they couldn't afford to separate at the time. And just in case you're not familiar with a common law relationship, essentially it's when two people are in a relationship for a certain amount of time. I think here in the U.S. it's for 5 years. Effectively, the law then looks at that as pretty much a marriage. So if you try to separate after that, you're pretty much going through what a lot of people would consider a divorce proceeding, in particular when it comes to the division of your assets. So we're basically hearing that they have a house together and things are pretty bad, but it looks like they can't separate. They're not even sleeping in the same room, but they are staying in the same house. According to this person, Colleen has actually never been married and she has no children. So perhaps Colleen referred to this as her husband because she knew that they were already in a common law marriage, which is another term for it. I'm not certain, but it sounds to me like there is certainly an avenue to investigate here with this common law husband who didn't call in the missing persons report, which is kind of curious. And there's more here that's even more curious. We're going to refer to him as Jack. Colleen and Jack moved away to Rock Creek about 6 or 7 years ago and mostly cut off communication with her family. There was a few people that she stayed in communication with, but according to this person, they feel like Jack was pretty much getting her to kind of isolate. And if this is indeed an abusive relationship, we do hear about that happening quite a bit. If you look into domestic violence in particular, abusers will typically try to isolate the person so that their abuse can go on and no one's putting any input into that or even witnessing what might be going on. So that could actually be accurate. This person has done some research in the area and spoke to one local resident, and that resident said that half the town thinks that Jack might have done something to her, and the other half think that Colleen may have ran away. I did ask about any financial issues that Colleen might have had, and this person did say yes, she had money problems, and she actually did a bankruptcy. And I was asking that primarily because I'm looking for reasons why she might have left on her own. And that might be a reason, except for the fact that she actually did the bankruptcy. So at that point, that financial reason kind of isn't really there anymore. She's already secured her assets. She's able to keep her car. Obviously, they didn't, kick her out of her home. So I don't think that that's really a good reason for her to have left. Perhaps this relationship is a good reason for her to leave. Colleen loved to read, garden, cook, loved meeting new people, loved being out in nature, seeing wildlife. She also belonged to a small theater group and was working on a show that was actually coming up. I believe that picture that we looked at where she was wearing the aging makeup was probably for one of these theater productions. She was an amazing seamstress. It's noting that she was making a wedding dress for someone when she went missing, and that it wouldn't be like Colleen to leave that undone. That basically this bride wasn't going to have her dress completed. And Colleen always felt that she would never marry herself, so she put a lot of love and care into these dresses that she was making for other women. Once again, just sounds like a very sweet lady, and it's certainly tragic not knowing where she is. Because Colleen had no children, she had 4 cats and 1 dog that she basically treated like children. I can certainly understand that. And she had a few of those cats for numerous years. She was also raising chickens and enjoyed that a lot. And all of these pets were left at her house. And unfortunately, this person does not know what Jack has done with those pets. She had a large garden, grew her own vegetables, loved to can and jam in the summer. And then here's another interesting twist. She also was getting into couch surfing and had hosted a couple of surfers. I'd be really curious to know if the RCMP looked into her digital records, tried to figure out what services she was using for couch surfers. We've had this come up in cases before. It's one of those elements that really needs to be looked at when you're considering that you're having strangers essentially stopping by your place and staying with you for a night or two. Could be a little risky in some people's eyes. So I'd be very curious to know if the RCMP looked in that direction. She had taken a photography course, had a good camera, and was taking pictures for weddings and other occasions as a hobby/job, which once again coincides with what we saw on her Facebook page of the company that she was running for that. Now, here is a really interesting point. I asked, would it be odd for her to drive to Kelowna? And no, it wouldn't. Basically, specifically to go to the Walmart, because the area that she lives in obviously doesn't have one. Rock Creek is tiny. They have almost no stores. So people will usually plan large shopping trips and go once a month or so, buy up a bunch of stuff and then bring it back home. I also asked if any of her personal items were found, her purse, her car keys, or her phone. None of those things have been found. And we get another very interesting wrinkle here with Jack. First of all, this notes that he did not report her missing. And supposedly he had taken all her belongings and put them into some type of outside storage area, like a little cottage or a shed of some kind. Then after a few weeks, he called Colleen's dad and told him to come and get everything. And that he told Colleen's dad that all her stuff was now in a U-Haul that Colleen's dad owned. And I guess he left at that property. So her father drives, and apparently it's a bit of a drive. He picks up the U-Haul, but he notices that there are 2 large locks on it. So he drives it back to his home. He goes somewhere to have the locks cut off. They do. He opens the back, and the U-Haul is empty. Now, it's really strange. And once again, I don't know how many generations this story has come through. Obviously, we're not hearing from Colleen's dad directly that this is exactly as it happened. But I would be very curious about where were her items? Where are all her clothes? Where's her jewelry? Where's her family photos? Those things that are really hard to replace if you ever have an issue in your home or a flood or a fire or something like that. Obviously, there is a core group of things that is very important to her. Why would Jack have not really put those out there? Why did Jack make up this story to Colleen's dad? Was it strictly to get Colleen's dad to come and to get the U-Haul off of the property? I don't know. I'm also curious about the legality of this property. She was, I would assume, some type of co-owner in this home. And I don't know about in Canada, but I know here in the U.S., after a person is missing for a certain amount of time, their family can file to basically have a death certificate issued. And they do that because then they can contest things like if there are assets that have been left with someone else, they can go and try to get those assets. In some extreme cases here in the U.S., they might even sue someone that they think is responsible for that person disappearing. I don't know if her family's considering any of that, but I just wanted to add that here. I asked about the bank accounts. Were there any activities on her bank account or on her phone? And this person confirms the RCMP says there has been no activity in either of those places, which for me is always a very concerning thing and leads me to start erring more to the side of there's some type of foul play element going on here. Because if this person really needs to take care of themselves, they're going to do something with their bank accounts. It might be that they pull a bunch of money out and then they go and disappear. But we're not noting that here either. So it's always strange to me when people have no means to support themselves and they go missing. And unfortunately, sometimes it's hard to get the authorities to consider that something bad might have happened because obviously they're looking for something very obvious, like, a body to pop up somewhere. And that, unfortunately, with missing persons cases doesn't always happen. I asked about cameras, particularly in the Walmart parking lot. But keep in mind, they didn't find the car for almost 3 months. This person is saying they did confirm that they asked about footage, but nothing was seen, and that the car was basically out of any camera's view. And they did note that it appeared that the car had been there for about 3 months. It was very dirty. But unfortunately, their search of the car really didn't provide anything that could help the investigation. I asked about air and ground searches. Were any done? When she was first reported, there was some ground and air search work done, particularly in Rock Creek and the surrounding areas, because it was still winter at that time, and they were concerned that she might have gone off the road. The police did do a search of Jack's backyard and searched in the house. That's all the detail I have. I don't know if they found anything interesting. And according to this person, there haven't been many tips called in on this case, which is really heartbreaking and just another reason why I want to cover this case and try to raise exposure. And I'm asking the journalists that have reported on this case to take another look at it and please help me in doing so. It then notes that Colleen's mother is 86 years old. She's been hospitalized 3 times since this happened, and it has been very hard on her. And I completely understand that. It's always tough on the families of missing loved ones like this, particularly if you think that there's a chance that something might have happened to that person. And I mean, I guess this is where we talk about theories. What could be going on here? One thing that's interesting to me is her car being found at Walmart, a place that she was known to go to. So the theory that if she was needing to run away from her life, that she was going to run away from her life, could she have done that in that area? Possibly. Maybe she went there in particular. I don't know if it's close to bus stations or some type of mass transport of some type. Did she go into the Walmart to buy supplies before she left on her own? Something along those lines. I think we would have seen a hit on the bank account. We're not getting that. I didn't ask that directly, but I'm not getting that sense from the information that's been sent to me on this. But of course, it is something we have to consider. Maybe things were getting so bad at home that she decided that she had to leave. And we know that things were already tough between her and her family because of this relationship. A lot of her family did not agree with this relationship. So maybe she felt like she couldn't turn to her family for some reason to help her in terms of getting out of this. Outside of that, was it a normal trip to Walmart? Was it just she was driving up there to buy, usual items, and then something happened to her in the parking lot? I think we do have to consider that as well, kind of the crime of opportunity scenario. But outside of all that, obviously, we've got a bit of red flags that I'm seeing around the relationship. Typically here in the U.S., we hear from investigators that is one of the directions they always look in first, particularly if it is a murder situation. But we don't really have this as a murder situation at this point. One other thing I'd be curious to ask the RCMP is, did they look into the phone records of either her cell phone or Jack's phone? And could they confirm that he actually tried to call her at any point after she went missing? Because I think that'd be a pretty good indicator if he knows that she, if he might know more than he's letting on, let's just say. So this is where I turn it over to you, Brain Scratchers. Let's talk about this in the comments below. Once again, I ask that we please remain respectful. I am more than certain that Colleen's family is going to be looking at this video and your comments. But that's also a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to help. If you have friends in the BC area, please send this video to them. I'm going to be doing my work with this video tomorrow, sending it to a bunch of these reporters. If you are one of those reporters, once again, thank you, especially for watching this video all the way through and getting to the end. And I hope that you found that there's more to this story than has been presented so far. And maybe you can be a big part in moving this investigation forward. I firmly believe that if we are talking about a foul play situation and we're talking about a community that small, that there's a very good chance that someone has the information and all they need to do is send that information to the right place so people can act on it and help this family find some peace in all of this. At least help them move forward from this place of not knowing where Colleen is or what happened to her. If you do find that you're the person with that information, in the description box below, you will find contact information for the RCMP directly, including the case file number. But if you want to remain anonymous, you can also just contact Crimestoppers. I've got that info down below as well. I don't know. My heart's broken for this case. This is one of those instances where Colleen's mother, I wish I could reach through the screen and give you the biggest, longest hug in the world right now. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this video, and I'll see you back on the Lord and Arts channel tomorrow.